are almost ready, I wanted to send you guys these guys.
Oh, what are those? What are
These
those?
are chocolate-covered cacao beans. They're almost
Cacao.
ready.
I'm glad you said
Almost.
it. I'm glad.
I did.
I'm glad you said it because I wasn't exactly sure how to pronounce it. I know it's like the term for chocolate, like the scientific term, but I know if it's cacao,
Cocoa.
cocoa. So
You know,
it's
cocoa
cacao.
and cacao is
See,
it's kind of the same thing. I mean, it's used to talk about the same thing, but people in
different.
the industry will try and use it as uh, uh to define a specific part of the spectrum of whether it's higher quality or lower quality. But there's
Oh,
not agreement on it. So sometimes people think they're talking about cacao and be like, "What are you talking about?" But if you go to where it's indigenously, if you go to where cacao is grown,
right.
usually the people call it cacao.
Boom. All right, we're gonna call it cacao. I
As
didn't know
because the
chocolate was
company
on
is
the spectrum.
YesCacao.
I
Yeah,
didn't realize
chocolates
chocolate was on the spectrum. Like, everything's on the spectrum these days. I don't know.
these
But
days.
this is Figuring Shit Out, episode 81.
Sorry, Frank. I'm sorry, Frank. I didn't get my charger.
You straight. You straight. We still
It's all
figuring shit
good.
out. 81 episodes, we still figuring shit out.
Oh,
You know
it
what I'm
was
saying?
at my feet. It was
That's
at my
real.
feet. And he had to stop me. All right,
No,
there we
yeah,
go.
no, that's gonna be in there. We're gonna put this in there. We're gonna let the people see how this is going
All
down.
right, we in there.
Episode 81. You good? You want to charge your laptop
I'm
or
good.
whatever?
I'm good. I'm straight. Perfect.
All right.
Well,
Bunny.
let me also let me just make sure I'm on the same page here. Frank and
Yes.
King.
Yes, sir.
Yep. That works.
That's funny. Do you guys know? Do you guys ever listen to Quite Frankly? Do you guys know that podcast?
I've heard of it. Never.
Not by name. I've probably seen clips of it.
Quite frankly, he's based on the East Coast, just a little bit in New York. And he also covers some very interesting topics, paranormal and such. And he has a guy that calls in all the time named King, which is funny.
Really?
Yeah, and King is like your very stereotypical New York Italian guy is gonna fucking where the broads at,
Hey,
you know?
I'm from the Bronx. We gotta check these guys out. There's the Frank dude. Is he Puerto Rican? He always wearing Yankee hats too?
He's not Puerto, he's Italian, but he always wears Yankee hats.
I think I might have seen him because there's a dude. Is he on Rumble too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I might have caught him.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
Rumble.
what's up.
He's got all kinds of. He had who we had on the other night was Lubomir Azrov.
Okay.
Arzov, the guy that did that Kingdom short animation film. Did you guys see that? Came out like a couple weeks ago. I gotta send you guys some fun stuff.
Yeah, no, let's do that. I'm gonna check them out though. I think I've caught them, but I don't watch them regularly.
I'm like way too serious for that kind of stuff.
That's good.
Yeah, we
Good
could
to know,
jump
King.
in. Let's jump in.
Let's just jump in.
King Arthur. We got Bunny
Yes, sir.
Flacs, and we got with us Justin Frank Polgar.
Polgar.
He
That's how they used to
Alright.
say it back in the day.
CEO of YesCacao, which is a healthy botanical chocolate, which I fucking love chocolate. Is one of my favorite things in the world. I like it so much more than fruity candy. I don't really like fruity candy. I'll tolerate it. But if I had to choose, I'm going with chocolate.
Okay.
He's here, blessing the podcast with us.
That's right.
Very first question we always ask all our guests when they're on for the first time is, what was or what is your figuring shit out moment? Something that changed your life. You had an epiphany and you've never looked at life the same. What you got for us?
Man, which one?
Exactly.
Which one? Because I think there's a little bit of an addictive quality to that spot, that little space. It's a no mind, it's a coherence, there's a resonance. And I've had several. I've been blessed to feel several of those moments of connecting where the space between me and God gets very, very, very thin.
Okay.
That's a bar.
I love that.
That's a bar. Do you have one? I like one
Yeah, I'll
off
pick
the
one out.
top.
Because I had one in an Uber this morning, but I'm actually not going to use that one. They just
Apparently,
come
you get them all the time.
like lightning bolts.
Right.
Oh, I eat like a half pound of chocolate a day.
Sounds like a dream.
So actually, I would say I'm gonna go all the way in with you guys here.
Okay.
This happened about 13 years ago. 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was a handful of years ago. And I was doing some Qigong. Are you guys familiar with Qigong? It's like an energy practice. It's kind of like you got Tai Chi.
Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tai Chi is kind of slow. The people in the park, you see them and they're moving energy around.
Bullet speed, yeah.
Qigong, same, different. But like, it's like bouncing your body, getting your frequency high, moving things, breathing. And I started doing this every day because it felt really good. And I just barefoot in the garden, like on the dirt or in the beach, wherever. So I'm doing this all the time. One morning I go longer than I normally usually do, like 45 minutes. I accidentally lost track of time, went like 2 hours one morning.
Wow.
Came back into the house to make myself a smoothie because I like having a smoothie in the morning. And I was like having cacao and I was herbs and all kinds of adaptogens and nootropics. And this is like 2009. I remember now.
That's some time ago.
15 years. And I opened the cabinet and King Solomon walks out of the cabinet.
King Solomon.
King Solomon, my homie from biblical days. He comes out of the cabinet and he's like, hello, Justin, or brother, however he addressed me. I knew exactly, he knew who I was. There was a beautiful, like, wow, hello, welcome. And I was kind of in an aberration, or is that what it's called, an aberration? I basically was in a state where I was just feeling like tingles
you're in
in my arms.
the astral plane.
I kind of was cross-dimensional, apparently.
Right.
Transdimensional. I opened the cabinet and he said, put this, and this together. This is going to be your morning routine. This is going to be your morning beverage. And that actually ended up becoming this chocolate bar. So that was a moment where I was like, let go, let God. Boom. Hey, look at that. Speaking of trans-dimensional. Oh, sorry, King.
It's
surprise.
Okay.
We're going to work it out. So that's a great first question, though. Like that, I've had so many moments like that where time slows down, everything kind of goes, oh, the door's opening. Here we go.
Okay.
So you got a message.
Your background is fitting. Like, so since you've been taught.
Oh, you bringing up? Oh, I hope his device didn't die.
He's about to end up right next to me. Is what's
I know he's on his way. Well, we can just carry on while he probably gets the situation figured out.
All good. We're just figuring shit out.
Yeah, we're just gonna figure shit out. He gotta figure out his laptop. So you had a vision, or you were on the astral plane, you was tripping, you was meditating, you was out there, and you got a message from the great beyond, right? And he told you, what did he tell you to put together? He told you to put this, this, and this.
It was Shilajit, Reishi, Tulsi. Those are the three that were like, had the most importance. Like I could feel that. Oh, dang, my chair just went. It's dropped right in there.
It's funny. The universe doing all type of stuff right now. I'm actually glad we're away or moved away from Mercury retrograde because we had some crazy issues with communication. So maybe we're on the shadow and tail end of that. We're moving away from that. Moving on.
Let's call it Mercury Gatorade.
Exactly.
Mercury's in Gatorade.
Exactly. All the words for that. So chocolate, did you always have a love for chocolate, or was it something that came around that time?
I did. I've been into chocolate. I mean, I was like potty trained on chocolate as a child of the 80s.
That makes sense.
Like, M&Ms.
Right.
And I just always loved chocolate. That was my choice over like gummies or sweet sours, whatever. I was just like chocolate. And throughout my life, chocolate continued to show up. Like in college, my college roommate was a Cadbury, like distant relative, but he was part of the Cadbury family. And I was always like, hey, how come we're not getting like shipments of eggs? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Shouldn't we be on a mailing list, like the family style?
Right.
He and I traveled to New Zealand. when I was like in my mid-20s, and on my 25th birthday or my 24th birthday, I decided, oh, what do I want to do today? I'm gonna go to the chocolate factory. I went to the Cadbury chocolate factory, and then I had a
Nice.
girlfriend when I was in my mid-20s who one day said, "Do you want to make chocolate with me? I gotta make chocolate for my girlfriend's birthday." And I said,
Nice.
"Oh, what do you mean make chocolate? Like you can just do that?" My mom also used to make like chocolate roses and stuff for me to give to teachers like end of the year or like
Mm-hmm.
Valentine's Day.
That makes
Because,
sense.
that goes a
Smart
long
move.
way.
Smart
You
move.
give
Yeah.
teachers some chocolate, like you're good. There's like certain things you can do
Points.
to get, there's like brownie points, and then there's, what's in brownies? Chocolate. So all these steps
Thanks.
happen, and then when she said, "Oh, you can just make chocolate," and I made it with her, it was very easy, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna make chocolate every day. This is awesome," because I love chocolate, and I just didn't stop. And I was studying herbs and teas and flowers and nootropics and adaptogens and all these different gifts from the plant world
That's crazy.
that make your body feel things, like feel
Right.
things, and it's
Right.
everything
Natural
from
things.
supernatural. I mean, a lot of things in the plant kingdom are natural that make us feel things. You
Mm-hmm.
take grapes and you smush them up and you ferment them. That wine is going to help you
Mm-hmm.
feel things. You roll up a J or a blunt and you put that in your body. That's going to make you feel things. But
Mm-hmm.
then also, like, you go to like Polynesia or like the Pacific Islands and you drink some kava, which is like a root that gets ground up super hard, but you ground it up and you have water poured over it and you drink kava, and it makes you super relaxed, but also very lucid. So you're kind of almost in a
Mm.
state like being drunk, but without the fuzziness, like
The
without
side
being in like a
effects.
wave.
That sounds
Haze.
like a blast. I need to get some of that.
Yeah, kava is awesome. They have
Sure.
kava bars all over the place. But there's just so many things in the plant world that we just don't we just aren't taught about, or it's not in our normal standard American diet. But once we just scratch the veil a little bit, then there's all the medicinal mushrooms, right? Because you got like lion's
Right.
mane, which is popping
Lion's
off
mane,
right
I've
now,
been
yeah.
hearing about that a lot, actually.
which is in this one, the brain power
Ooh, which
bar,
one? Which one?
the
The brain
golden
power.
one with Professor Karma.
Yes,
This
you know what?
owl's name.
This is my favorite one. This is the first one I tried, and out of the three I got, this is my favorite one. I
That's our
killed
best
this.
seller.
Yeah, I killed this in like 5 minutes, less than that.
So
I can't
good.
wait to get my box framed.
I'll buy you some. How about that? I'll get you some. No, but that's super dope. So making
Yeah.
chocolate, if you can, if it's not spilling too much of the secret sauce, how do you make chocolate? I'm pretty sure it's probably a simple procedure.
I mean, it's simple, but chocolate is a very finicky mistress.
Mhm.
Like I'm very much in service of the bean. My
Mhm.
official title is Minister of Chocolate because I preach the bean.
Let's go.
There's a lot of different ways to make chocolate. Like, for example, there's a lot of, like, I'm sure in your town, somewhere in your city, there's someone who's a chocolatier who has like a place you can walk in, get little bonbons and truffles and little chocolate goodies. Usually a chocolatier means
Yeah.
that the person is melting chocolate
Okay.
and then putting it like flavors into it or putting it into a different mold and then making it kind of fancy and beautiful. And there's a
Mhm.
beautiful art to that. And then chocolate maker as opposed to chocolatier. Chocolate maker means you're making it more from scratch. You're going closer to the bean form.
Mhm.
So sometimes we're doing it from the bean. Sometimes we're doing it from nibs, just a little bit closer to the soil. The cacao tree grows all these pods. I wish I had a pod right here. Sometimes I have one within reach, but I don't have one
It's
within
actually
reach.
white, right?
Inside they're white. Outside can be
Right.
orange, green, yellow, red,
That's crazy.
all kinds of cool, purple. They're really beautiful and they look like rugby, more like a rugby ball than a football, but they kind of got these interesting ridges on them. You crack it open, those seeds inside the pod have all this pulp on them. The pulp is delicious. It's like a sour sop or like a tropical fruit. It's amazing that we even
That's
got to the
crazy.
chocolate part.
Right.
But it's 50% sugar, super high sugar. So it turns quick. It starts to ferment quickly. That fermentation transforms the bean inside, the cacao bean, which is actually a seed, and it starts to open it up and make it more bioavailable for like human consumption. That happens for
That's
3 to
crazy.
5 days in that fermentation process. Then it gets arrested by doing like either a sun dry or larger companies will use a gas dry. We prefer sun dry because I think there's codes coming from the sun to inform the food that we're eating. We
Facts.
want to put those in our
That
body.
needs to be highlighted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the as minimally processed as possible. Every time we introduce a new thing, that takes us a little farther away, I think, from the
natural element,
medicine of the plant. That said, we only use wild harvested cacao. So
nice.
No farms, no plantations. It's not like the harvesters are walking down, or there's a farmer that's walking up and down aisles of cacao trees. We're talking about like 3, 4, 5 hours out into the jungle, where their groves
That's
just
huge.
naturally taking care of themselves. And the trees are also like 40, 50, 60, 70, some of them 80-year-old trees, like old growth trees that have been wisdom keeping the secrets of the symbiotic nature. I mean, that they'll figure stuff out. They'll figure stuff out faster than a farmer's going to figure it out. Nature has all the resources. So basically, once the fermentation happens of the beans and that stops, then some people will roast the beans. We don't do a roasted cacao. It's a preference thing that develops a lot of flavor. But when you have really, really clean cacao, I don't think you really need to do that. And then that process, you have these beans that have a shell around them, almost like a skin. And when you roast it, or when you dry it in the sun, it kind of separates a little bit from the skin. And then you winnow it. It's called winnowing. And it cracks the bean open, and then you get nibs, like cacao nibs. The husks are kind of pushed aside. And then from there, that's usually how we get it, either in nibs or crushed up nibs in a paste or a liqueur.
That sounds like a pretty
before
dope.
Anything happens. That's how it gets to us. Then we stone grind it in these melangers. That's like somewhere between 48 and 72 hours of stone on stone granite, crushing the beans and getting it to that mouth feel, so it's super silky smooth in your mouth. And then we put sun-dried cane sugar in it. It has very low glycemic index. We put the herbs, the teas, the flowers, a little more cacao butter, in order for the herbs to have a little bit longer of a cascade of effects. And then we temper. I guess it's actually it's a long process, isn't it? Chocolate takes a long time.
Yeah, you made it seem easy. You made it seem easy when you said you was making it with your girl.
I mean, it tastes good. I mean, that way too. I think that time it was like cacao powder, coconut oil, and some agave syrup or something. Like you can make it really easy. You want to take some maple syrup and some cacao powder. A lot of times too, people, like, you can get what's called like ceremonial cacao or 100% cacao. You can melt that and put like a little bit of maple syrup or honey or sweet syrup, so whatever you want to do. Some people eat it or just drink it the way it is. I like it 100%. My 3 and 5-year-old, they'll eat 100%. The 5-year-old more so. The 3-year-old, she's like, I don't like this today.
Not yet, right? That's crazy. It is now 2023, going on 2024. Why don't you have a VPN? Only for a limited time, go to piavpn.com/cyberbunny. You could get 83% off the PIA VPN. What is a VPN? VPN is basically software that's used to hide an end user information such as IP address, location, private data they may be transferring over the internet, identifiable information such as their devices they're using from being spied on, from hackers, governments, internet service providers, anybody out there who wants to steal your data for their own personal gain. That's basically what a VPN does. If you want to take advantage of this discount, go to piavpn.com/cyberbunny. Go there now, sign up, tell them I sent you, get your software, get it installed on your laptops, on your mobile phones, on your tablets, any device that connects to the internet, get it installed on there. Get protected, go now. What is the difference between your product and how you make it, and the botanicals and how the holisticness of it, versus, let's say, candy?
Snickers, I love this question.
Butterfinger.
I bet he's gonna go in Hershey now.
Because I tell you, I love Butterfingers. I love I love all those nasty. I mean, they're not nasty, they're good, but I know they're bad for you. So break down the differences between them and what you do.
Well, what I like to say usually I say, when you buy a candy, like a chocolate candy, like a candy bar, you're overpaying for sugar.
Makes sense.
And you're overpaying for sugar and underpaying for chocolate, because all of that chocolate is also coming from slave labor, unfortunately. Like
Dang.
a
Right.
huge portion of chocolate that comes into the US market, the European market, a lot of stuff that originates in Africa, a lot of the stuff also that originates in Central and South America would be essentially slave labor, and sometimes child slave labor as well. Africa has a longer history of that. In fact, I did find an article in the 1906 Harper magazine, I think it's the August edition, that talks about all these big chocolate companies coming together to like fight slavery and chocolate. And we're talking, that was like almost 120 years ago. It's still a huge problem. So obviously someone's benefiting from it and they don't want that to change.
Or that could have been just
So
a
just on
campaign.
that tip,
Right. Yeah.
it was just, it's good PR. People still do that today. People build whole
Wow.
companies about that. But you got to be really discerning about where you get your chocolate. So just on that tip alone, because we're getting wild harvested cacao, we got to pay our workers, our harvesters, like about 3 times the fair wage price. Like when you see fair trade stickers on your products, it's about 3 times that, because they got to go out in the jungle. They have a lot longer of a cycle to go. It's easy to go up and down the aisle. I mean, easy is relative, but they got to go out and then get it. So we pay a healthy amount. On top of that too, because it's wild harvested cacao versus plantation cacao, we don't use any sprays. Even when something is organic, you can still use organic sprays and fertilizers. Just because something says organic on it doesn't mean, yeah, it does. It's just a bar, but the bar is kind of low for these days. If you look at the chocolate bars that I sent you in the bottom left, we have our own seal, our own thing that we came up with on the front side of it. See, it says,
oh yeah, I seen
clean
that. I was
AF.
laughing at it. Yeah.
Yeah, clean AF. It's clean AF.
I don't know if it's gonna focus in, but yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna focus on that, but it's
Yeah.
that one right there. Yeah, so everything that we put into the chocolate is giving health benefits and is adding to the value of the product. There's no fillers, there's no preservatives. We don't even use any lecithins that would like make it flow smoother in our equipment or make it more uniform. We don't do any of that. In fact, we write expect variance. It's the natural order of things on the packaging. There's a little bit of variance. I don't really let stuff out of the factory that's too far out, but there's definitely a window that works nicely. And, essentially when you eat chocolate, this is the most important part. No matter what the chocolate is, chocolate's a vasodilator, which means it opens your blood vessels.
Ooh.
When your blood vessels are opened, anything that you're putting in your body is going to get deeper into your body, is going to be better absorbed. So when you have preservatives, when you have poisonous sugar, when you have chocolate that has bad vibes in it and pesticides and all the stuff that's going to be in that commodity normal swag chocolate,
Butterfingers, yeah,
Butterfingers, even though I get it, like it tastes yummy, I'm not going to deny that, but we also, sugar's a drug. Let's be honest about it.
Yes,
It's an
it really
acceptable
is.
drug, but it's a drug. So when we put the YesCacao bars together, when we're bringing all the ingredients together, and I just make sure that all of the sourcing is done in such a way that I feel super stoked about giving it to my children, about putting it in my body. And I eat half a pound of chocolate a day.
That's huge.
Like I have been doing that for 15 years, which puts me in a category of eating about my body weight every year, which is a cool little factoid. I eat my body weight
And
in
you look
chocolate
slim and
annually.
fit. You don't look like 500 pounds. I think you're good.
No, I'm like 5'10", 5'11" on a good day, about 170, and working on my physique. I go to the gym. I like the sauna. I like the cold plunge. I like to push some weights up in the air.
That's facts.
My kids are my kettlebells, is what I like to say. My kettlebells.
I can relate to that. I got some young ones too. So I just looked up a stat, and it said that Mars Bar, Nestle, they generated $22 billion last year from chocolate. Right. I know Mr. Beast has tapped into the market, and he's in a few million. Right. So how do you plan on competing with them two, right? Because that's a big market share they have.
I mean, I'm also just I like the history of chocolate. It's really interesting
Fair.
to watch the rise and fall of different companies.
Mm-hmm.
Cadbury, I have an interesting view in just because my homie, my roommate was a Cadbury, and his aunt wrote this book that was the history of that company. And what I keep seeing over and over again with any company, not just chocolate or food, is that there is a point where you're too big. There is a point at which you cut corners, where
Mm-hmm.
your duty is to the shareholder instead of the quality of the product or the original vision, where it's just not sustainable. And so I think I learned, I mean, maybe it was part of it was going to UC Santa Cruz and like having some really solid hippie years of understanding that like, hey, like know what enough is. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's just a good thing to know anyways.
I agree.
But like, I'm not trying to get into the bees, not with chocolate. Maybe some other project will come, maybe some insight will come in and that will result if my being in service to my fellow human or my fellow earthling, we'll just say that to make it a little bit bigger. It results in the value add and the value return of billions. Okay,
I
great,
like that.
awesome. But honestly, like I'm not trying to compete with Mars and Hershey's. Even if Mars and Hershey's or Nestle's wanted to buy YesCacao, I'd say go fuck yourself.
Let's
I
go.
just would.
What?
That's huge. Let's
I'm
go.
not
Nah, because
interested.
you know what they're gonna do anyway. They're gonna exploit it and put their bullshit in it.
I mean, I hate to
They'll
say
make
it,
it a
but
part of the
like
machine. Yeah.
you got like Hue Chocolate,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, in that craft brown. They're out of New York. They grew really quickly. They were like a unicorn in the chocolate space.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when they came on the scene. I remember, feeling a little jealous at points. I'm like, oh man, how are they just getting everywhere and whatnot? And then, just learning little bits about how they navigate it and just took it and, used it as more of a business, as a straight business. And then they ended up selling for over $200 million to Mondelez, which is basically like a food conglomerate in Europe. Now the
Mm-hmm.
bars are made there, the chocolate is changed. They're gonna
Mm-hmm.
try and keep it like so that it appears the same way, but the
Right.
energy behind it is different. Like honestly, there's just in California, what are there like 40 million people here? If 1%, 400,000 people bought my chocolate bar, one bar a year, like I'm living so cush,
Right. No, that's facts.
you
What
know?
if they came to you and approached you and they had a contract and they said, "Hey, we want to buy this and we promise to keep the same process. We're not going to change anything." And for whatever reason you believe them or you had no doubt of that, right? Would you sell then, or is this close to your heart? This is yours. It's not
Baby.
about the money. You know what I mean?
You know what? I want to be really honest with myself on that because
Mm-hmm.
until that happened, I'll take I'm an open path. I'm
Mm-hmm.
into open pathways. So I will feel into like, is that the truth? Is that what the chocolate wants? Because there is
Mm-hmm.
also a piece like there's gonna be a limit at which I can't serve the chocolate in a leadership way like it wants to be. There will probably be that space.
Mm-hmm.
I can actually feel that knocking on my door right now where it's like, hey, it's time for you to hand off this beautiful foundation to someone like to lead alongside with you
Mm-hmm.
and build this to its next level. I mean, we used to be in like 160 stores, all like the mom and pop natural stores. We were like had one-on-one relationships. My wife used to manage all of that. And we just found that the food system was really broken.
Mm-hmm.
And we just got farther and farther away from our customer, which to me, that was the tragedy of it. I mean, yeah, the
Right.
margins were not as good, but like I didn't know who my customer was. And we just ditched
Mm.
all of the stores. We wrote an email and said, hey, we've loved working with you, which is true. We loved working with a lot of the stores, but we're not going to be serving this category anymore. We're not going to be selling through these channels to the stores. We're just going to switch to an online model. And that actually happened in the end of 2019, just
Oh
because
wow.
in a
Okay.
moment of meditation where I was like, I need more time with my family. I need closer connection to my customer. I want better margins. I don't want to be a slave to my business. How can we do this together? And it was like, just switch everything online. I was like, okay, which was a little risky of a thing. It was a little
Yeah.
scary,
No. Yeah.
scary to
Right.
do, but few months later, all the lockdowns and the shutdowns happened, and I don't know that I would have made it through there.
Yo, that's crazy that
That's
happened. The
wild.
timing is insane because yes, they shut down a lot of retail, and if your shit would have been stuck in there.
Hi, I'm King Arthur, founder of Novel Views Tech, where we prepare children aged 10 to 17 for a future shaped by advanced technology. Our curriculum dives into fields like robotics, nanotechnology, quantum computing, and more. But what really brings learning to life are our bi-monthly, Exploring the Future of Technology, webinars, hosted by industry experts. These webinars aren't just lectures, they're interactive discussions that connect your child to the pulse of the tech world, creating a learning experience that goes beyond the classroom. We offer a money-back guarantee to ensure you're completely satisfied. Equip your child with the skills to not just adapt, but to innovate and lead in the future. Join us at Novel Views Tech, and let's build their future today.
Sitting on a shelf, get expired.
Check this. So I was showing you, this is some of our new packaging that's coming out. This is like these little tubes. I got bigger tubes too, but it has our
it's not really, it's not showing with the
put it in front of your face. In front of your face.
There we go. Good call. Good call, King. So we have our doctrine of yes, like written here. It's also written on the inside of the bars, but the bottom one right there, if you go down here, it says practice, loving, and perfect timing. But that perfect timing one really came in on that. That really helped.
No, I love this. I love this statement.
You talked about getting close to your customer, how you don't want to be disconnected. Me and Frank talked about that a lot, like how it's important for us to know our audience, who's listening to us, and to take them off of the social media platforms, right? So like you're saying, out of the stores, right, where they're at, and getting them to come directly to you. How do you think that helped your brand and building a relationship with your customers?
Well, I mean, initially I got feedback right away, and I would say almost all the feedback was very positive, and I was missing out on that feedback loop of that energetic pat on my back of like, yeah, keep going. Because there's times in business, I mean, I've been doing this for 14, 15 years. There are times where the challenge feels almost insurmountable. And then what we got to do is lean into our deeper why. And for me, the deeper why is that service of the customer. And if I don't have access to that voice, if I'm not hearing the feedback, the first part is me putting it out there. I put it out there. If I don't hear something back, I'm like, why am I doing this? In a way, like I think I'm doing a good job. I mean, I have one customer. I got this one customer. This guy buys a good amount of chocolate. And once I started having more of a direct relationship with my customers, we started having some emails going back and forth. People ask questions. People want to know, hey, what's the heavy metal content? Hey, what's this? Whereas if it's in a store, they might be like, I don't know, so I'm not going to buy it, as opposed to email the guy, he's going to email me back today or tomorrow. Because I'm just like, oh, why? I'm like making dinner. I'm like, oh, someone just asked me this question. I'm like,
That's huge.
That I think people value that communication, because then it's not just a product. There's a real person. There's something behind that.
Right. It's not a corporation where the CEO or the president and the C-suite are 500, bodies separated. You can't reach them. And again, like you said before, they have a allegiance to the shareholders. They don't really, the customer is important, but that's not their bottom line. The bottom line is that dollar. The shareholders and stocks.
The customer becomes a number.
Right. Yeah, and there's separation there. So about me, I love medicated cookies. I'm a medicated cookie person. Do you have medicine? I know you got medicine, you got herbs, you got natural stuff in here.
Let me check under the table here really quickly.
Hey, it is what it is. You in Cali, so it should be straight. I don't know.
I said in 2016, because it used to happen all the time. Where like, maybe once a month, and then twice a month, and a couple times every week, they're like, yo, do you make weed chocolate? Do you have some medicated? Do you have something? How come you're not doing that?
That's my question. Right.
And I actually I teamed up with a buddy of mine in Oakland, and I built out their chocolate kitchen. And so I was doing probably doing private labeling for maybe like 6 or 7 companies, and just like every day. I mean, we're making chocolate every day. And
Nice.
some brands that I think are still around today. A lot
I
of
would,
cannabis in California has been dropping like flies because it's really rough here with all the
Oh, really?
taxes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's hard to make money in cannabis. I mean, that's the general vibe here, consensus, right?
Okay.
Though recently more nowadays, people are like, hey, what about mushrooms? Do you make mushroom chocolate? Do you have psilocybin chocolate? And it's the same pattern as it was for cannabis. Same thing. Like it's, the same kind of frequency, like it's happening once a month. And then people ask me all the time. Now I get offered stuff. Like I'll walk around this, like in Santa Cruz, I'll be walking around and someone's like, hey, and I'll be wearing like a shirt like this or something because I like stuff like
You got the vibe. Yeah.
I got a vibe, and people are like, hey, I got mushroom chocolates. You want some? I'm like, oh no, I'm straight, thank you. Like I could just make my own if I need to. But
That's dope.
I mean, it's usually what chocolate they're using in that. I mean, for me, one of the reasons I said yes to that cannabis edible gig was that I was seeing most of the chocolate, most of the candy was garbage. And so if I'm like, okay, even if I'm
Gummies
using
and
it
stuff.
recreationally, like I don't want the sugar crash or that like weird belly feeling on top of being high. I mean, I got to the point when I was around it all the time, I was like, well, I would rather just eat a really good chocolate bar and smoke a J.
True.
Plus the edibles hit a little
True.
bit differently, though there's something,
Yeah, I'm adverse to the
I'm
smoke.
sure if you did a scan of my office right now, you would find little gummies and little pieces of things. People give me samples of stuff all the time. I'm
No,
not
that's
gonna
funny.
say no to it.
Right.
Thank you.
But so for the record, so we get it clear, you don't got nothing on the site that offers that.
No, but
okay.
I
At the moment.
know several people that make some nice products
send it
here
to us in
and
the
there.
message.
Yeah. Or you can
I
shout them
will.
out if they're your friends here. I mean, it's whatever, figuring
Yeah.
shit out. You could.
You know
Or you can send
who?
them.
What are the names of the brands?
Because I'm
I
gonna
know
look them
the
up right
people.
now.
Actually, I'll put a little list together. I'll put a
That
little list
works.
together
That
of
works.
some people because they're kind of there's like a Vision bar, there's like a Made in Space bar, there's a Lucidia or Lucidia,
That sounds nice.
there's microchips, there's
And we only want
nameless ones.
we only want the companies that have the good chocolate. Since we're talking about good, healthy chocolate, right?
Yeah,
we don't
I
want
mean these
nobody
are
with the
all
candy.
like people. These are all people that I think are doing a good job.
Nice.
There's
We gotta try to stay healthy, stay away from the processed sugar and the bullshit. Get a
if
nice.
you're in California, because I don't think they ship because they're an above board cannabis edibles company. I remember I saw them at the Emerald Cup a handful of years ago, and they actually just won the Emerald Cup, Cannabis Cup, Emerald Cup, one of those cups. They got a cup. Elefante makes some really good gummies. Big shout out there.
Nice.
But they don't. I don't know if I think you have to be in California to get them.
Gotcha. So
it's hard to find good, clean stuff. It just is.
Yeah, there's stores out here and things, but you never know what you're getting. It's hard to trust, and you get a bad high.
Government.
Hey, it is what it is.
Maybe because you guys are. I bet there's a giant stockpile somewhere in Virginia because that's like the spook capital of the world. I think.
Pretty much.
Maybe
I would buy it. Yeah.
It's probably there's a giant vault somewhere.
Oh, really? That's news to me. We're gonna have to figure that out. Find out where it is. Maybe we can do an episode and go find what that is.
The Commonwealth isn't the friendliest for things that they can't benefit off of, right? So
isn't that true?
He said it's the taxes for them to sell cannabis and stuff are kind of hard, but cannabis has been thriving on the street for how long?
Forever.
For as long as it's been.
But as soon as Big Brother get their hand in it, it's impossible to sell cannabis now.
I'm pretty sure that the black market still way outpaces the legal market.
I'm sure.
I mean, it's sad because I have friends that have had multi-generational like growing families, like up in Northern California, up in like Mendocino, where like for 2 generations, 3 generations, they've been growing cannabis and supporting their family. And then once all this happened with the legalization, like the legalization of it,
quote
people are
unquote.
still in jail for cannabis, but it's
Right.
there's a legalization of it, and they got you kind of knocked off one by one, but not being
So
able to
sad.
survive. I think it used to be. I remember when people were selling pounds for 3, 4, 5 plus, even $6,000 a pound. Nowadays, I think cannabis is like $500 a pound. I don't know, but
Right.
it's a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like, how's a farmer's going to grow 10 times as much as they did? Not if they're like a boutique, like small, homegrown zone.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Shout out to
so
the farmers that are putting their hands in the soil.
Exactly.
speaking of farmers, right? Speaking of farmers, you mentioned your factory, right, a couple times, right? So what is that like? How'd you go about getting your own factory? Because I don't think I've come across. Oh, I want to have my own factory to make my own chocolate. Like that's
It was a long journey. It's taken a lot of forms because I started doing it. I was making it in my kitchen and like friends' kitchens, whoever would let me make a big mess in their kitchen. And
Right.
then I would rent places, like you could rent commercial kitchens, and then I'd have to like order everything, get everything ready to go, and then spend 2 days straight nonstop or 3 days straight nonstop, just make as much chocolate as I could in a commercial kitchen. Because I wanted to like sell it in stores or at the farmer's market, then I needed to do it that way. Then the cottage bill passed, so you could do that at home if I was doing farmers markets, or if you're selling less than $50,000 a year, which I don't know, $50,000 isn't what it used to be.
Exactly.
You can't live in California, not in this area like
sure.
Not here
either. So then I ended up doing some contract manufacturing where I was hire, like save up my pennies and then hire someone to make the chocolate for me, but I would have to be there because it's not like normal chocolate. It's not like I can contract a normal chocolate maker because generally the larger houses that would do that, you have to use their chocolate and their sugar. And I'm like, no, I want to use this specific, and that just wasn't available.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went from there. There were some errors. I did have a situation where there was a mistake and the wrong ingredient went to the wrong chocolate bar.
Not the Willy Wonka thing. You had the Willy Wonka for real, in real life.
People started growing blue beards and hair everywhere.
No.
It was that
Crazy.
Yeti.
You got sabotage.
I did think that was pretty funny that they called it was some Yeti something or other, and like that's a strain of mushroom that is pretty popular here in Santa Cruz, or not Santa Cruz, in California. I thought that was really funny.
So what happened with that? You got the wrong product?
I had it was a big loss. It was one of those moments where that happened, and the day after, or was it the day before, I found out that my wife and I were gonna have our first child. So it was one of those like, woohoo, and then oh shit.
Dang.
Like
That's how
it was about $25,000 in product. And then it took about 100 hours for me and 100 hours for my wife of like our hands-on time, unwrapping things, remelting things, like
wow.
Then had to reorder the packaging. It was like probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like a $40,000 or $50,000 loss. That was like, this is the end. Like, I don't think I can get through this.
Right.
But it was like, but every time I get to that moment, then I have one of those drop-in moments where everything goes slow motion and God says, no, this is your path. It's like the way that I became the minister of chocolate was on my 28th birthday. I went to a 7th generation psychic palmist. This Indian guy with a giant mustache, like a very pro mustache, man. That guy, he is.
I'm gonna list of all your contacts because I'm gonna visit all of them.
I meet very eccentric people, and I don't know that I might be an eccentric person also.
Let's go.
It might be part of the magnet thing.
Right.
But the psychic palmist, he was reading my palm and drawing and making doodles and notes and telling me things and laughing. And then he drew the wing of my chocolate, the wing from our logo. It actually had 2 wings because the logo used to have 2 wings with a crown in the middle. And I was like, hey, what is that? Because I didn't tell him I did chocolate or anything. This was pretty early on. He says, oh, this is your walk. And I said, oh, that's my my chocolate company logo. He says, well, you're going to be known as the Minister of Chocolate. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I like that.
That's dope. That's
So,
ill.
but every time I hit a challenge, something happens and it's like, no, lean into it. Lean into it, lean
Push
into it.
through. Push
And I
through
tell
that.
you something that I learned more recently and part of my process right now and like my growth curve, because usually it's anchored by some affirmation or some like morning mantra, something that I say every morning. When I started chocolate, right when I started it, every day I would wake up and the first words out of my mouth were, I only do what I love. I only do what I love.
That's
And
crazy.
it was funny because like things that I really liked left. They peeled away like a banana. I mean, like even the girl that I was with who told me to make chocolate, taught me, I really liked her,
Right.
but I only do what I love. So,
I knew it was coming. Oh, that's huge.
you know, that kind of went, and
No,
then like
that's
I had a
huge.
few different projects and, you know, but everything moved away except for herbs, studying herbs and making chocolate. And I'm just a people person. So I was like, oh, how do I put these three together? And I started doing one-on-one batches for people. So I'd sit down and say, hey, Frank, what's going on in your life? And you say, hey, I'm writing a book or I'm
I
preparing
am
to,
actually.
there you go. I felt that.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And then I'd be like, cool, what's going on with your book? And you're like, oh, you know, I'm having a hard time focusing on the
What
thing.
is
Like I want to
happening?
like get through the
Annie
fucking thing.
dog.
And then I'd be like, okay, cool. And I'd make you like a 30-day supply of your own chocolate bar that you'd eat
What's
the chocolate bar
happening?
before you do it. And the first girl that I did a chocolate bar like this for, she had some stomach issues and she couldn't have an unassisted bowel movement. Like, so you had to get stuff over the counter
Right.
or
Hey,
prescribed.
yo.
It
Hey,
was really
yo.
intense. And I felt for her, and a friend of mine connected us, and I was like, I don't know if I can help you, but I'll do my best. I started talking to her. I said, what's going on? She said it, and I was like, that feels like it's deeper than physical. What's your relationship like with your parents? She says, oh, my parents are really strict, and I heard my bloodline is super constricted. I was like, I think you got toxins in your blood that are preventing peristalsis. Like you can't go because you're not getting the signal. So I'm gonna make you a chocolate that is like a blood cleansing chocolate. And then a
Listen,
few days
bro.
later, she was fine. It was
Bro,
just
let me tell you
amazing.
something. This is crazy. I got goosebumps
Tell him, Frank.
because you brought up the book thing, and I'm writing a book and I'm struggling with that. But even more so than that, and I'm gonna put her business out there. My wife right now is having stomach problems, and I don't know if that's the issue or not. It could very well be, but that's crazy that you just put those two things together
Oh, the
in
two
that
things.
antidote, right? And they're like speaking to me over here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like blown away right now. This is
Who's
stupid.
driving? Who's driving,
This
Frank?
is
Who is
insane.
driving?
No, that's crazy. Are you looking for a media agency that covers all the creative tasks that make a business successful? Lucid Perspective produces elegant, high-resolution graphics and logos, high-definition and 4K video, complete with treatment concepts and innovative editing. Lucid Perspective provides photography services such as fashion, advertisements, product or service, and aerial photography. We also help businesses build their brands from the ground up with complete campaigns that will make your business attractive to your target audience. We can bring your brand to the masses with our effective and strategic marketing campaigns to include sales funnels, eye-catching advertisements, breakthrough digital marketing through social media, and other digital avenues. Visit lucidperspective.com today. Nah, like, I don't know. I don't have no words, bro. I can't even finish out the rest of
Is
this
that a
plan.
service? Is that a service that you still do, or that was just something like when you first started?
You know,
like
I still do it, but I don't advertise it. Like you can, it's on the website, but you can't like click around to find it. It just, some people just buy it. And I'm like, how did you find that? Man, because it's kind of the reason why I stopped doing it, because it's like a 20-hour process of like, okay, I connect with the person and then I got to do research and then I got to bring in and then I make the chocolate and then, you know, I send them, I make it and I send it. And so it ends up being like, it's like a $500 like package.
Service,
And
right,
so I'm like, oh, that's kind of a lot, but you know, you get a lot for it, but
I say it's worth
I'm
it.
not trying to like put it on the website as like, this is something I do, because it also is a little bit, like I actually have a backlog. There's a girl that I gotta make a chocolate for, and I just did some cool research around it, and I gotta get on hers in the next like couple weeks here. But just to backpedal up, what I've been playing with a lot these days is the word problem, because I feel like as purpose-driven entrepreneurs, as people who are on a mission, when we identify a goal, when we're like, boom, I'm gonna do this thing, the first thing that comes up is the problems between you and that goal. And actually, the road to the goal is paved with problems and problem solving. And like, how are we gonna get and that's like, you know, you're getting tested along the way. I mean, I tell people this, like, who are looking for love in their life, and they go, oh, my intention is to find love and a relationship. Anything that's not that will come to the surface to test you right away, to know whether you're really ready for that in your life. But the word problem, the etymology of it, problem, if you go back a few hundred years, like 500 years, is pro, which is forward, and belle, which is to throw. So I'm like hearing this, and I'm like, man, we're taught to avoid problems. We're taught to run away from things. If you can get through your day without a problem, you've had a successful day. But actually, if you can throw yourself through your, like, as you are the solution, then all of a sudden there's so much energy in those little nuggets. Those things that we call problems are actually little stores of energy. They're like the little mushroom from Mario. They're like the little plant that comes out. It's like there's so much juice and gem. There's so much magic in that. And the deeper the problem, the problems underneath the problem, there's so much to let go of, because we don't know how much we are dragging around these baggage, around. We're a slave to our old self until we take that baggage and that problem and we throw it forward.
Push forward. Yo, that's a hell of a bar. That's a hell of a message. I'm blown away. I feel like we could literally talk about stuff like this for hours upon hours. You know what I'm saying?
That's definitely me and Frank's wheelhouse. Like, I just posted in so I do morning walks. Just like, there's opportunity in every obstacle, right? There's opportunity in every obstacle, and then like, the now is the opportunity, right? So don't like allow your problems to hinder your growth because you're scared of what you got to go through and what you got to do. And you said it earlier, we get addicted, but once you learn how to find your addiction to those aha moments, right? You really get the urge to figure shit out. I think I told this story before, Frank, when I was in college. I was asking the professor for help, and he was just like, no, you figured out yourself. And I was just like, what the fuck am I paying you for? But the aha moment to me was, I don't need these people. But on the other side of that, when I figured out what I was trying to figure out, I was like, I got it. Like, that's with me and Frank, a tech guy. So like, once we figure out that whatever we're looking for or solve that whatever problem we're looking for in tech, it's addictive, because like now I can do it. I know how to solve it. So whatever else comes my way, I'm ready for it. Right. So that's what that message gave me, man. That's what's up.
That's crazy. That's huge. Let's close it out. Yeah. How about this? We're gonna close out with our last closeout question is, what is something you're trying to figure out right now? So we got your figuring shit out moment, then we got something you actively trying to figure out in the present.
I'm in a moment right now. I have this theory that this is not my theory. I came across the study. It says we make 37,000 decisions every day. And so I just have this is 37,000 forks. We go yes or we go no. 37,000 forks every single day, which might be the name of a book that I haven't written yet, but that has been written by a future version of myself that's pulling me through a golden thread in that way. Just saying, just gonna put it out there.
I like this guy.
Yeah. We gotta have you back.
I like this guy.
We're just getting started.
Yeah.
Let's see, something that I'm I think that's it. That problem, that throwing myself into problems and being a problem hunter. I have this thing that's coming through me that's not in my mind. And when I quiet my mind and I drop into connecting with my true north, then that content starts coming through. And so right now I'm building out like an online course and like really a protocol for myself to go through this like scientific process, but you know, you have to also have an artistic process within these protocols to move through problems and have it be this repeatable, like, cool, I identified a problem. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I've got like 7 steps out of what I think is probably going to be 11 or 12 steps, like boom, dialed in. So like the follow through of that, because usually it's the follow through. I could start stuff all day long, but the follow through, that's where I'm at right now. So that's what I'm working on right now. I feel like the chocolate is almost taking care of itself in a way, because I have a language that I understand with the chocolate, and it tells me what it wants. It tells me like, hey, I want to become a retail shop, or hey, you need to hire a CEO and you need to get more into your creative space. You need to go on a podcast tour and just live in the podcast realm. Bring your microphone, get in a little van life situation, and go travel.
Hey,
you know, I listen to it.
That sounds dope.
Like that idea.
That's huge, man. We definitely, this is a great conversation, bro. I feel like we gotta have you on a regular.
He sounds like the chocolate alchemist, right? Listen to the souls of the world, right? Yeah.
I feel like the Chocolate Alchemist is a title that I maybe had at some moment, or that might be like a title of the podcast or something like that. Chocolate Alchemist. That's what we're doing, right? That's what we're doing.
Figuring shit
out. We're turning the things that don't look like they're gold, we're just turning it into gold. It's all gold. It's all gifts. It's all beautiful.
Let the people know where to find you, your socials, your website. If they got any questions, they want to buy the chocolate, where can they find you online?
Right now, I wonder if you can even, boom, look at that. It actually focused in.
Try to scan that.
Let's go.
Bam. Just scan that with your phone right now. That'll take you to YesCacao.com, YesCacao.com, which is where you'll find all of our delicious products. But if you want to get a little bit deeper into like our play with us, if you want to get social with us, like in a very literal way is how I like to do social media. You go to YesCacao we're on Instagram most actively. TikTok scares me a little bit, but I gotta do that anyways. That's like one of those things I gotta throw myself into it.
Yeah, same here.
Sure.
Twitter, the X, all that good stuff. I just, wherever there's an ability to be YesCacao, I do that. But I would say Instagram is probably where I'm most like where I post a bunch of reels or more so stories. That's what they're called. I like that.
Great. Thank you. Well, this was amazing.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna close out for Frank, but don't forget, guys, unify and thrive. Don't forget it. I didn't say it at the top of the show, but this is a great episode for unifying and thrive. And he talked about his collaborations. He talked about how he cares about who he's working with and working for, and who he's providing a service for. Right. So that's a major plus, man. Justin, we appreciate you coming through, man. And we will be seeing you soon, I'm sure. I don't know if it's the West Coast, but I don't mind going to get some good chocolate, because Frank didn't give you the address so I can get some chocolate.
I just missed up the apartment. I think it was like 2B or something.
I'm messing with you, bro.
I know.
We're gonna make sure that all of that gets remedied. And I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate your levity and also your depth. So you guys are playing on both sides of the alchemy, as above, so below, like that. And I would say good luck, but really congratulations on everything you're about to do.
Wow.
My guy.
Thank you. Yeah, that's dope. We'll catch you next time. We appreciate you. That's a closeout episode 81. Thank you so much. All right. Peace out.
Back to his warm hole.